Well, hello campers and bushcrafters. I'm Donnie Pavlini with Donnie Pavlini Outdoors. Backpacking, food, things like this. We think about it all the time. We address it on our individual little camping trips. One of the things that we do is we go out and we purchase dehydrated meals from companies such as Mountain House and others because they're good. The advantage is they're lower weight and menu options in the field. And today we're going to talk about that. And at the same time, I've got somebody I'd like you to meet. Well guys, right now I would like to introduce you to somebody that I had the pleasure of meeting at the latest rendezvous. This is Mr. Homer Mayo. He lives right down the road from me, and it was a heck of a thing to travel all the way to Morton, Mississippi and find out that there's somebody of a like mind and like interest just a few miles away. It was a pleasure to get to meet him. And Homer, I want to ask you something, just so everybody else knows. What got you interested in this outdoor thing that we do? And just tell us a little bit about it.
Well, my father, he's always been an avid hunter and fisherman, and he got me started, I guess, when I was about 2 years old, taking me to the woods. Awesome. And I did my son the same thing.
Oh, man, yes, yes. And what kind of things did you do? Did you hunt or camp, or what kind of things pretty much?
We started hunting mostly at first, and then camping later on in life, and fishing a little bit, but mostly it was hunting whitetail deer.
Hunting whitetail deer here in Mississippi.
Here in Mississippi.
Another thing, guys, that eventually I would like to introduce you to is Homer is an exceptional leather crafter and knife maker. We'll address that later on down the road. Today we're going to be talking about dehydrated meals, and I'm going to ask you that. What prompted you? What kind of got you thinking about trying out this dehydration process?
Well, you know, I bought a dehydrator to learn to make beef jerky years and years ago. Made beef jerky and it turned out well. And one day we had some leftover food from supper. Mm-hmm. I set it to the side, and you know, I looked at all the Mountain House meals, that kind of stuff, and I said, you know, if somebody else can do this, I could do it too, you know.
There you go.
So I started doing a little research on how to do this and that, and I said, well, we're just going to try it. So we started out and dehydrated, and I think the first thing I did was we had some leftover beef soup and dehydrated it.
Wow.
And turned out great. Rehydrated it, and it was 95% water at that point, you know, and then it turned out great. Just moved on to this or that. And
well, you're no stranger to cooking anyway.
No, I love to cook.
He loves to cook. From what I've seen with the barbecue stuff that he does with some of his friends, it's pretty amazing. Maybe one day we'll get a chance to look at some of that too. Tell you something that I find interesting just looking is that he's got some instructions. Homer, tell me exactly what's in this package. How did you come up with what you have here?
Okay, this is just some leftover spaghetti with meat sauce from supper the other night, and I took in dehydrated and wrote the instructions on how to rehydrate it, and I stuck it in my bag. That way I know exactly how much water I need to add. It's add 7 ounces to 7/8 of an ounce of cup of boiling water, and let rehydrate for 15 to 20 minutes, and also put the date on when I've done it.
And tell me this, how long is this packaging, the way it is right now, how long is that good for?
I was told that it was good for 1.5 years to 2 years, and up to 3 to 4 years if you keep it in the freezer.
That's awesome. Another thing is portions. How did you come up with your portion size? Is that something you just kind of looked at from a plate, or is it something that, I mean, how did you come up with your portion size that you have here?
Well, as you can see on the back, it's just when you dehydrate, this will double in size, and that's roughly about 2 cups once it's doubled in size. And this is
That's pretty good.
It's about a cup dehydrated and about double in size.
Awesome. And I think what you did with the writing the instructions, that's brilliant, man. I see that in doing it this way, you could, my gosh, you could have all kinds of flavors and things like that. Tell me, does the process change from one entree to another? Is it the same hydration time? What's the deal there?
Well, noodles and that kind of stuff take a little bit less time, but potatoes and vegetables, that takes a little longer to rehydrate. So, and sometimes you even have to take this package, and once you put your boiling water in, submerge it in boiling water to give it that little extra softening time. That's the reason I include a Ziploc bag in here. The Ziploc bag is, you can seal this Ziploc bag up and take your boiling water in your pot or whatever and leave this cracked open. If you need some more heat time, drop it in your pot and let it dehydrate, or you can use this bag that comes in.
Gotcha.
But this is a little Ziploc bag I keep in there just for if there's leftovers or trash, or if it needs to be rehydrated a little bit more.
Well, I tell you what, it seems to me like it's pretty well thought out. It looks like it's going to be pretty easy to use. So, well, what do you say? You want to give her a try?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Homer, I got to ask you a few other quick questions before we get into this now. How do you know how much water to add to these things?
Well, after my meal is cooked and I set my portions off to the side, this is just leftovers from supper night before, I'll take this and I got a set of scales, digital scales, and I will actually weigh, like if I put it on a plate, I'll put the plate on the scales and zero the scale out, and then I put my food on it. That way I know exactly how much food is on my plate. And that's measuring water, it's measuring food and everything. So at that point, then I add this to my dehydrator and I dehydrate all the food. When your food is dehydrated, then you take another weight of your dried food. That way you can calculate how much water was removed from the food, and then you can do it in grams or ounces. Sometimes grams is a whole lot easier to calculate than ounces, and you can convert it back and forth. And you should track your water weight from your food weight, and then you just add your water weight back to it, and generally it comes out pretty good. Sometimes you may have to add a little extra water weight, but for the most part it's just like Mountain House.
That's awesome. And you were mentioning something else too about the types of foods and their longevity, and you mentioned something about some of your fattier home-cooked meals. Tell us a little bit about that again.
Well, if it's got a lot of oil in your food, it doesn't last quite as long, because after about a 3 or 4 month period it will turn rancid on you. Just gives that nasty taste to it.
That's definitely something to look out for.
Yeah.
So in other words, if you're going to be making these camp meals, it should be for something that you're going to be doing in the pretty near future. Would you agree with that?
Yes, and if it's got hamburger meat in it, or hamburger's real good to use, and if you cook your hamburger and to add to your product, if you'll just run it under hot water before you dehydrate it and wash off any fats or oils all you can, your flavor still stays there. It's just you're getting rid of that fatty oil and fat from it, and it lasts a whole lot longer.
And what we're going to use here is something you would use mainly for backpacking. We're going to be putting 2.5 cups of water in here. It'll be a little bit more than what we actually need, but it's better to have a little too much than not enough. Because this is a backpacker meal, we're going to use a little backpacker gas stove for this. This is a little MSR Pocket Rocket. I'm going to take the canteen here. Notice I didn't say ultra light backpacking. I don't want everybody screaming at me about that. We're going to use 2.5 cups of water right here because we want a little bit more than we actually need for these meals. Now Homer, if you don't mind, show us exactly how this goes.
All right. Well, this is the way I like to do it. Now, I just take my pot, I'll open it up, and I take my bag and cut the top of it off. And take my instructions out, set them to the side. Kind of like give it a little crunch or so, and you can see the spaghetti how it is. And I just like to take and stick my down in my little pot like this. down in there. Then you can kind of like, then you add your water to it.
All right.
About 1 cup.
1 cup. Watch your finger.
Thereabouts. All right.
Let me see where we are.
All right. And then you can take this right here and fold it up just a little bit and put the lid on it.
How about that? Okay.
And set it to the side like that and let it sit for about 10 minutes and stir, and then check it for doneness after about 15-20 minutes, and once it's soft you can eat. And another thing I want to show you, if your meal gets cold, the reason I like to do it like this, if your meal gets cold while it's in there, you can take it out of here, leave it in this bag, sit it back down in your boiling water in your other pot, and then reheat it.
Oh, how about that?
Or if you're, same thing, you know, if your water stays in, this is the same pot you used one, you just ease it back down in there and it rewarms itself.
I know that this way we're not going to have a bunch of dirty dishes, are we?
Once you eat, that goes either pack it out with you or
in the fire.
In the fire.
All right. Well, guys, it's been about 20 minutes. I guess it's that time. Let's give her a shot. And I'll tell you what, guys, hang on where you are right there. I'm going to come to you. And I want you to see what we got going on here. Okay? Now, we're going to give this the real taste test now. All right, Mr. Homer. The pressure's on, bud. Here we go. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
It smells incredible. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Man, now that's awesome. That's just like homemade. I mean, it's got all that, the down-home taste to it. There's no preservative taste to it or nothing like this. Is like Mama been over the stove half the day making this spaghetti. And I'm not just saying it because you're here, but this stuff is really good. I mean good. And the thing that I can see is the advantage of knowing what you're going to be having. And tell me, what do you think about it? What do you think? I mean,
well, you know, it takes a little bit more effort when you do something like this for yourself.
mm-hmm.
I mean, you can go to Dick's Academy or Sporting Goods store and buy the Mountain House meals for $7 or $8, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
I guess for the average person, that's easy and simple enough for them to do. But you know, if you want to take the time and the energy to put forth to making good products, especially that you know that you, your family, your friends is going to enjoy,
Mm-hmm.
just spend a little extra time, a little extra effort, do it yourself, put the time and the energy in,
Right.
and sure, it's a whole lot easier to go buy it, but it's a whole lot more satisfying to
You
know
better
that
believe
you've done it yourself. You know what's in it. You know it's going to be good, and you can do almost anything that you can
think
dehydrate.
of. Yeah, I mean, and that's true. In other words, that love that you put into your favorite meal at home, that same love can go into this.
And this is leftovers.
Leftovers. Well, they say spaghetti's always better the next day, or beans, or anything like that. But you get such incredible flavors. You're guaranteed you're going to have it seasoned the way you like it seasoned. I mean, in essence, you're bringing the best of what you have at home with you out into the field that you can make like that. Homer, I got to tell you, buddy, thank you. This is most enjoyable, and I had a good time just learning a little bit more about dehydrated food. I thought about trying it myself and everything, and so, hey, I'm still interested now. I want to thank you for coming out here and doing this.
You're welcome.
Guys, in the near future, maybe you'll be seeing Mr. Mayo, Mr. Homer Mayo on YouTube. He's going to see if we can coax him into getting his own channel going. This guy's got a wealth of knowledge. He's a good man, and I'm proud to call him friend. So, from Mr. Homer Mayo and from me, Donnie Pavlini Outdoors, to you and yours as always. We appreciate your views, and we'll see you in the woods. Take care.